It's Bree, and I have a story for you. A lot of you guys leave comments and tell me that you love how real and how honest I am. So I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys and tell you that today has been one of the most annoying days of my life, and I really don't even know why. I have no idea why I have been so annoyed and just so completely agitated today. And you see, like, this hair is annoying me. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Besides the fact that today has been one of the most irky days of my life, I decided that instead of walking around and just being in an overall bad mood, I would channel that energy into my channel and tell you guys about a time in my life that was honestly one of the more annoying times in my life. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, today sucks, but I've been through worse. So to put things into perspective for me, I decided to sit down and tell you guys about my roommate from hell. Now, before I even go ahead and tell you guys this story, if you've been here before, thanks for stopping by. Seriously, I love you. And if you're new here, go ahead and click that red button and subscribe. And don't forget to click that bell for notifications, because I know after this, you guys are going to want to hear from Bree all the time, every time I upload. Wow, like, sitting in front of the camera and talking to you guys, I automatically feel so much better. I think there's makeup on my shirt. I don't even care. Let's get into this story. So basically, this story is about the first time I ever moved out of my parents' house. So this entire story is my first experience living on my own. Now, one of the things that I've been noticing is that when I tell you guys stories, I can be clear as day, and people will still get in the comments and be like, oh my God, you're a terrible person, you're horrible, ah! I'm like, can you not just enjoy the story? Like, is that not possible for you? I just feel like I don't know how to be clearer with you guys. So I'm just gonna go ahead and repeat myself and tell you, this was my first time living on my own. Okay? Pretty much, I ended up in this living situation because I had got kicked out of my house, and I was allowed to move back into my home, but I was not allowed to have keys. So I would spend like from 6 a.m. to 6, I would spend 12 hours in the street. I was like part-time homeless, if you guys really want to know the truth. I told you guys about how I used to catfish. This was that point in my life. Like, I literally didn't know what I was doing with my life, and because of that, I was surrounded by people who also didn't really know what they were doing with their life. And one girl I used to always party with, and we're gonna call her Cynthia. We were going through something similar, but I really didn't know that at the time, because I don't want to say like I'm a private person. I obviously have a YouTube channel where I tell you guys stuff that I don't even tell my friends in real life. But I am very selective with the information that I tell people. So even though I was part-time homeless, I didn't know that Cynthia was going through the same thing. So all I knew was that Cynthia had a decent amount of spare time, equally as much as I did. And I knew that we shared the same interests, which was hanging out, smoking weed, and partying. Like I said, I did not know this girl's business, but what I do know is that I was hanging out with her literally on the daily. Like, if there's like 7 days in a week, I was kicking it with this girl like 5 days out of the week, literally. And I don't even remember how, but I remember she told me, she's like, oh my God, I finally found an apartment. When she told me that, I wanted to jump on it. I had $0 in my bank account. I was poor. I was catfishing.
A liar, a scammer. I love robbery and fraud. I'm a messy bitch who lives for drama.
So I go with her and I see this apartment. It was huge. It was like I don't remember if it was, I think, if my memory does not fail me, it was 25,000 square feet. It was a big artist loft downtown. It was on Skid Row, but it was downtown. It was a big loft downtown. Like, I wasn't living on Skid Row. It just happened that my apartment was on Skid Row. Okay, fast forward, I am moved into the home. Now, here's something I need to tell you guys. It wasn't just me and Cynthia. It was me and Cynthia and 2 other girls. So in total, that's 4 girls living in a 25,000 square foot artist loft with no walls. I thought that it was just gonna be like a Sex in the City kind of thing. Young girls living in LA, struggling, making it happen, and just being creative, you know? And that's definitely not what happened. Now, this video is called Roommate from Hell because the other 2 girls, I don't consider them to be bad people. I consider Cynthia to be a bad person because as the story progresses, you guys will realize that this is not the person that you would ever want to live with. A few months into living in this apartment, however, I realized that the catfishing was just not gonna be enough for me to pay my rent. And I noticed that I started to be a burden to the other girls because I never had my rent on time. Like, ever. Me and Cynthia were the girls who were like always, oh my God, are they gonna have their rent or not? Like, we were the girls, you guys, that was just, I don't want to say messing up the home environment, but we were definitely like the most unstable. It literally got to the point where like, I have a real job. I'm no longer catfishing. I'm waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Me and only one of my other roommates have a legitimate job because Cynthia and the other roommate, they like worked at a weed shop like trimming. Like, that's not a real job. I'm sorry, it's just not. So only 2 of us have real jobs and are waking up early in the morning to get to work. And I kind of like, the energy that I was putting in to maintain that house, I kind of started to get pissed off when I would come home and every single day there was somebody that I did not know. Like, that literally started to piss me off. And the way that Cynthia, she kind of felt like that was her apartment. Like, even though she lived with 3 other girls, that was like her space. I don't want to like make it seem like she's a bad person for thinking that, but technically it wasn't her space because she needed us. Because if it was her space, then she would have been able to afford it on her own, but she couldn't. And she kind of should have had way more respect for us because it was like every single day I was coming home, you guys, there was somebody that I did not know. And I would be like, Cynthia, who is this? Cynthia, how long are they going to be here? And she would be like, girl, you're tripping. They work for Noisy. They work for Vice. They work for this. They do that. They have 25,000 followers on Instagram. My house was literally like a clout demon house. There were people in my apartment that they literally looked so dirty and so filthy. And it wasn't until after I completely moved out of that situation where I was like, oh my God, like that person slept on my couch for like 2 months and they're famous on Instagram. Like, that was the biggest eye opener to me, to where I kind of feel like it contributes to why I'm able to come on here and just be myself, because I spent so much time around people that were trying to create this image and they didn't even have a pot to piss in. During this year, I started to see how when I first moved in, all 4 of us got along perfectly. I mean, besides the fact that I was late on the rent or I was struggling to get the rent, we had so much fun. We were always partying, and it was just like, it was such a good bond. But I started to notice, even through the partying, even through the drinking and all the turning up, that like Cynthia was like the ringleader of all of us. And I started to notice that like when Cynthia wasn't there, the 3 of us got along way better than when she was there. And I started to kind of feel in my spirit that like Cynthia was like playing us against each other so she could maintain the control over the entire dynamic. I would kind of notice that the other two girls would like tiptoe around me, or like they would kind of treat me like I was just this explosive, crazy personality. And honestly, it made me feel insecure a little bit, because I'm like, why are they treating me like I'm a fucking psycho? Like, nobody wants to come home and see strangers every single day. Like, I don't care how open-minded you are. I don't care how positive and good vibes you are. Like, your home is where you're supposed to come and be able to function and be yourself. And you can't do that if every time you come home, there's somebody who you've never even met. I'm working, stressed out. I hate my job, and I hate the fact that I'm not making enough money to pay my rent. And I decide, because I'm terrible with money management, that I want to take a cruise with my best friend at the time. If you really want me to be honest, I felt like everybody in the apartment was living their best life but me. And so I kind of saw the opportunity to take this cruise as an opportunity to, like, put my hard-earned money to use. I felt like all my money was going to bills and going to my house, and I just wanted to be able to enjoy myself, because I felt like I was the only person in the house who was not truly enjoying themselves. So the cruise was from, like, I don't remember, but I remember that I came home on the 4th of July, okay? So obviously I was going to be gone on the 1st of July when the rent was going to be due. Now, for Cynthia to be somebody who doesn't even have a real job and never knew how she was going to pay her rent from month to month, she was very serious about getting that rent paid on time. Like, she was kind of like psychotic about it. And why do I say that, Brianna? Because I know how, oh yeah, I know somebody's going to get in the comments like, girl, you know, if you live in an apartment, you gotta pay your rent on time. Meanwhile, they probably been evicted, but that's neither here nor there. I told these girls when I got my ticket, I'm going on a cruise. I took my whole check. I gave these girls my entire check, and I went to Mexico with virtually no money. My auntie literally had to tell me, no, you're gonna have to take some of that money out of your rent, because you're not gonna go on this trip, have no money, and burden your friend, because she's gonna have to pay for everything. And I was like, damn, you make sense, okay. But me and my auntie had kind of talked where she was like, look, I'll pay I was only short on my rent, $50. I'm not being dramatic. I literally only owed $50, y'all. So I communicate this to Cynthia after I come back from my auntie's house. I'm like, look, like, I'm probably gonna be $50 short, but I talked to my auntie, and if you communicate with her, because my auntie knew like the girls in the house, but she specifically knew Cynthia because that was the ringleader. Like, Cynthia had like fiddled with all of me and my other roommates' relationships, to the point where, yeah, I wasn't even really talking about them to my family, because in my mind, my closest relationship was with Cynthia, and the other two girls I just lived with. I told Cynthia, I'm like, my auntie's gonna be in communication with you. I'm short $50. Here's the money. So I go on my cruise, y'all. I come back from my cruise on the 4th of July. I come home and I see somebody who I've never met in my life sleeping in my bed. And I was pissed. I was mad, y'all. So to come home from a cruise that I enjoyed, where I had one of the best times of my life, and to see some stranger sleeping in my bed, oh, that was the beginning of the end. After that situation, I literally would just wake up and go to work. I had nothing to say to nobody. If everybody's gonna think I'm crazy, if everybody's gonna think I'm a bitch, I'm going to be that bitch. But this is where it gets juicy. Basically, Cynthia was a kleptomaniac. That girl had this little thing where she loved to go to Airbnbs and go to parties and basically rob people's houses. She would take cameras, clothes, shoes. Like, I mean, y'all, I never met nobody like that. I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you guys. I've never met somebody where you invite them to a party and they're partying, and then at one point they start rummaging through closets trying to see what they could take and calling it a finesse. Like, Cynthia's favorite word was finesse. Girl, you are a kleptomaniac. You are a thief. And I distinctly remember when everything started to unravel, where it literally became the beginning of the end. I remember she went to a party and she was kicking it with this Blasian girl. And if you don't know what Blasian is, it's like black and Asian. She was kicking it with this Blasian girl. And I don't know where this girl came from, but I know that this girl was like cool with Playboy Cardi. She was plugged into that lifestyle, okay? And Cynthia, being a finesser, wanted to be a part of that. And she figured that this Blasian girl was gonna plug her into Playboy Cardi, how to do credit card and Airbnb and Uber scams, and all this, like, it just smells of poverty. So she kicks it with this Blasian girl, and I remember one time she goes to this party at an Airbnb and she steals like 3 film cameras, 2 of which was a Nikon and one, I think it was a Pentax. Is that what you call it? Oh, all the photography people in the comments below, tell me if that's wrong, because I really don't feel like Googling it. But I feel like the camera was called a Pentax or something like that. And this girl, Cynthia, stole over $15,000 in merchandise, photography equipment, and clothing from this Airbnb. And she comes back and the Blasian girl is asleep in her bed, and I'm waking up getting ready to go to work, and she's walking around in this like lingerie, and she's like, oh yeah, I got this, this was such a finesse, girl, you should have came. And I told her straight up, I'm like, Cynthia, that's not a finesse, like, you stole. Like, and I told her, I was like, imagine if somebody came to our house and they took that much stuff. We would call the police. I was like, whoever's house that was, when they go back, they're probably gonna file a police report against you. Like, you took way too much stuff. And she thought I was tripping. I distinctly remember that day because I like looked at the girl in the bed. I looked at Cynthia and I was like, I'm going to work. And as soon as I got in the elevator, I called my auntie. I'm like, I think I need to move out of here because this girl is stealing so much stuff. I do not want the police at my house. So I guess things really started to get out of control for Cynthia when she invited the Blasian girl to live with us. So she tells us that she wants this girl to live with us, and she's gonna make this girl pay a security deposit, and she's gonna split it 4 ways. Right? That was the agreement. We're all kind of looking at each other because we spent a significant amount of time together without Cynthia to realize that bringing another girl into the situation, I mean, yeah, it would make the rent cheaper, but we already can't function, the 4 of us, in this apartment with no walls. So we're like, okay. And I honestly think that we agreed to it because we were gonna split the security deposit 4 ways. So we were gonna try to finesse this girl into paying the first month's rent and a security deposit so we could all have extra money in our pockets that would not, for the first time in our lives, have to go to rent. Here is where Cynthia becomes the definition of a roommate from hell. So I'm at work, my other roommate is at work, and it's only Cynthia and our other roommate. No Blasian girl. And Cynthia's talking to the roommate, yada yada yada, casual convo. And Cynthia kind of drops a hint that the Blasian girl already paid her security deposit. Cynthia ends up giving the older roommate her portion of the security deposit because she's like, look, I know what you're doing. Can you please just give me my part? And also, the older roommate like plugged Cynthia into her job. Like, Cynthia wouldn't even have had a job if it wasn't for the older roommate. So the older roommate was pretty much like, I think she pulled her aside at work and was like, look, can I just have my money, please? You know what I'm saying? And so Cynthia gave it to her. But when the older roommate comes back and tells me and my other roommate, oh yeah, I got my part, did you guys get yours? We're looking at each other like, oh, so Cynthia thinks she's just never gonna pay us. The tension in that apartment You could cut it with a knife. I still did not get paid my portion of the security deposit. I took to Twitter. That's my #1 thing. Before I started this YouTube channel, I would expose people on my Twitter account. I was the Taylor Swift of Twitter. Like, if you did me dirty, I would do an entire thread. I would tell everybody everything. After I exposed this girl on Twitter, it gets to the point where the older roommate is like, look, we're gonna have to have a conversation because Brianna's getting a little bit out of control. And I'm telling you, like, there's a line that you just don't cross. If you don't want to see that side of me, don't cross that line. So we have this family meeting, and Cynthia admits that she spent my part and the roommate's part. So basically we just weren't gonna get the money. And I attacked her. I physically attacked her. After the family meeting where I attacked Cynthia, the Blasian roommate is literally feeling some type of way. Now, I feel like if I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I need to tell you that the Blasian girl was no better than Cynthia. She was a finesser too. She saw an opportunity to move in with us and she took it, and she didn't really care what was going on with us. She didn't really give a hell about us. She just needed somewhere to live because she wasn't from LA. And Cynthia kind of set it up to where it was just convenient. So I feel like the Blasian girl played both sides until it was just like the majority against Cynthia, and the Blasian girl had to choose a side. So this girl starts talking about, oh, I want to fight you. I want to fight you, Cynthia, because you got these girls. They don't trust me. They don't believe in me. And I mean, me in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I don't trust you. I don't know you, and you're a scammer. Like, you might rob me. This Blasian girl was threatening Cynthia on the daily, like threatening her to me, threatening her to my 2 other roommates, and threatening her to Cynthia's face. And it was like everything had did a complete 360, because first Cynthia was in control of the loft, and now this Blasian girl, who I haven't even known for a full month, is running the loft. Tell me why the Blasian girl and Cynthia end up fighting when I'm at work. And my roommates didn't even send me a video. I get a text from one of my roommates. Oh my God, Cynthia and the Blasian girl got in a fight. Of course, my older roommate was the only person home because Cynthia and my older roommate, they work at a weed shop. Like, they don't have like solid 9 to 5 hours. So I'm like, they got in a fight. What do you mean? The Blasian girl fights Cynthia in front of her mother because Cynthia's like, look, I know you paid your security deposit and I know you paid for this month of rent, but you're gonna have to move out. And the Blasian girl's like, excuse me, I'm not moving out. Especially after all this drama you caused, nobody even likes living with you. Maybe you should be the one to move out. And my older roommate, she's just catching this tea. She's like, damn, like, she telling Cynthia to move out in the apartment in her name? Like, oh, this is tea. Next thing my roommate knows, these girls are rolling on the floor fighting, and Cynthia's mom is just screaming in Spanish. And it's like, so the exact same person who you end up inviting into your home turns against you and physically fights you. Make that make sense to me in the comments below, because it makes no sense to me to this day. And this was like 3 or 4 years ago. Y'all, after that fight, we all got into alliance to just move out on Cynthia. And if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. That was literally the most liberating moment of my life, because I knew that I wasn't crazy. I knew that I wasn't tripping. And all those times where Cynthia tried to make it seem like I was the bad person, like I was just this overly paranoid, crazy, strict, you know, like she just tried to turn it into like I was just this terrible, crazy, overreacting person. When everything backfired on her, it was so liberating to realize that all of us were on the same page and we all wanted to move out and leave Cynthia in that situation by herself. And it was basically like we were all just like, look, if you want this to be your space that bad, hey, it's your space. That's my story about the roommate from hell. If you guys like this video, go ahead and turn that thumbs up blue. Support your girl. Get those fingers moving in the comments below and tell me, I mean, you guys, I tried to do this story so many times. Tell me what you would have done if you were in my circumstances. Because you don't know how good it felt to just move out on that bitch and leave her with that crazy amount of rent on the first. I feel like I'm starting to get to know you guys, and I feel like one of you guys would have ended up beating up Cynthia as well. But with that being said, I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Till next time.